Hi, this is Harold Allman from LinguaXDeo.com. Today I went to the a store here that buys and sells used records, DVDs, Blu-ray discs, CDs, all kinds of used audio materials and videos. And what I did was I dropped into the section where they had used Latin books because it was taking them so long to go through all the albums that I brought in. And I started looking at what they had. One of the books that they had, of course, was Wheelock's Latin. In fact, they had 3 copies of that book. I didn't even open it up. I've looked at the inside of that book. It's chock full of grammar. When I started learning Latin, had I tried to use that book, I would have lasted about 3 days, and then I would have given up. The reason is it's just like so painful. It's just grammar. There's all these words you don't understand, all of these verbs that you don't understand. It's just no fun. So of course there are other materials like Lingua Latina per se, Illustrata by Hans Orberg, which is an awesome book. And that's what I chose instead to learn the Latin language. And if you're considering learning the Latin language, you should have a look at that book. I just think it's awesome. I've mentioned it numerous times in my videos, and I'm mentioning it again. And I'm not getting paid to endorse this book. I just think it's a great book, great way to learn the Latin language, because there's no English at all in the book. Well, I guess it's got the word copyright at the beginning. So there's that one exception. Otherwise, there's no English in the book. Now, what I recommend you do instead, if you're learning a foreign language, is to find sources within the native community that have programs that you like. So what we're going to do is we're going to break away to a series of short videos that I put together. I've got 3 of them, 2 of them from sources within Radio Canada, and another one from CKUT, which is a station coming out of McGill in Canada. And that particular show, called Québec Acadie, c'est en français, it's in French. But McGill itself is an English university, but it is broadcasting that program in French. I believe it's every Sunday morning. Right now it's for 4 hours. It used to be 3 hours. So let's go over and have a look at those 3 resources.
This is a site that you can use to learn French. It's produced by Radio Canada. I'll put a link to the site in the description. This site is not for beginners. I think you need to have a basic level of comprehension before you try watching the videos here. You can go ahead, but you'll need to know some French in order to understand what's going on. Why would you want to use this site? Well, if you look at the news videos in here, they're all pretty short. They're all about 2 to 3 minutes long. There are a few videos that are 5, 6, or 7 minutes long. That means if you just got a bit of time to study a language, you can come to this website and you can spend a few minutes watching a French video. Another reason to watch these videos is that it's a lot more interesting to watch a video than it is to do grammar exercises, right? I mean, you got a choice of which videos to watch, so you're going to pick one that interests you. You can watch the video, and it's just going to draw you in. You might not understand everything that's going on, but you get an idea of what's happening from what you're seeing on the screen. And depending on your level, you're probably going to have to comprehend about 70–80% of the words in each video before you can start picking up the other words by the context of what's going on and by the words that you're hearing in the video that you do understand next to the words that you don't understand. So you can learn those words by context and from the visual clues you're seeing in the video. One of the disadvantages of this site is that it has commercials, but those are actually an advantage also because you can learn French from these commercials. For instance, one time I was watching a commercial that was coming in on French TV, and the person said, "Que sais-tu fait?" instead of "Qu'est-ce que tu fais?" And I immediately recognized what that meant because I had heard it when I was a young boy, but I hadn't heard it in 20, 30 years. But when immediately when that actor, that voice actor on the television said that phrase, I understood what was going on, and it's such an interesting idiomatic expression that occurs in French. Que sais-tu fait? Instead of qu'est-ce que tu fais? So you can learn things from the commercials. So commercials, yeah, you don't like to watch them in your native language, but if you're learning a foreign language, it's just more content that's going to help you learn the foreign language. Here's another site that you might want to check out. I just found it 2 or 3 days ago. It's again provided by Radio Canada at this address, and it's got uh, recordings of jazz put out by Stanley Payan, the host, and he comes on every night, Monday through Friday from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to listen to the show live, that's quite possible. You could even do it on your phone if you have a data subscription. But if you miss the show, as I did today, it's been archived and it's available. So I don't know how to navigate here through the menu, so I just searched for Stanley Payan Jazz podcast, and I ended up here, even though it's not a podcast. And this program in the upper right, you can see it goes for 2 hours and 28 minutes, and I'm not going to play the music because I'll get a YouTube strike for copyright violation. But the first song on this date, 19th of November 2019, is by Frank Sinatra, and it is not jazz. So this guy is hosting a program that plays mainly jazz, but obviously they're playing songs from the big band era, which is great, which I like. So I like both genres, and I listened to the show a little bit, and right after the first song, he started talking about uh, when these people were born, and that's why I listened to the predecessor to this show. Actually, I don't know if it was the predecessor, but there used to be a program called Espace Musique with Andre Vigeant as the host, and they played jazz, and that's how I learned really difficult numbers in French, like 1999, 1998, because when they spit out the numbers, they're not slowing down for you. You might be learning French, but they're just going to come at you with the numbers really fast. And I had a really hard time figuring out the dates like 1999 at full speed, but I figured out how to do it. It's probably a topic for another video, and I might play you a little clip of Andre Vigeant speaking probably about 15 to 20 years ago on Espace Musique from Radio Canada. But I think you should check out this program. The reason to listen to it is that it's entertaining. It's not going to disturb your work if you play it at a low volume. And then when this guy starts talking, you take a break. Stop what you're doing and listen to what he's saying in French, and you try and understand what he's saying. And if you can do that, you're going to pick up words and you're going to learn to understand the language. And he's going to teach you numbers. He's going to specifically teach you uh, the years, because he's going to say, oh, this album was released in 1999, and you're going to struggle probably to figure that out in full speed because some of the dates in French I think are quite convoluted and extremely long. I've explained how the dates work in French, and a lot of people go, that's just crazy, but that's the way the language is. I have another French resource for you. Just go to ckut.ca. This is a radio station at McGill University in Montreal. It's an English university, but it has a French radio program on Saturday morning called Québec Acadien Musique. Let's see, Saturday. I'm just navigating through it. There it is, Québec Acadien Musique, and just click on that link there. It's a program. It's saying it has folklore, country, Cajun, popular, and occasionally retro music, French and English. Instrumental, humor, and variety. Saturday, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can subscribe in iTunes, except it doesn't work because the feed tries to pull down the 4-hour podcast, and the server that's serving up the MP3 only allows 3 hours of download, so that won't work. I haven't tried this RSS feed. That probably works. And you can also download manually, which I did try. And if you go back to the really old stuff, they cut it back to just the downloads of the podcast in mono. But for the newer podcasts, you can download it in mono, 64 kilobits per second, or 128 kilobits stereo on the right-hand side over here. So let me play some of this back. This looks like a mono one, but I found something interesting in it. At about 7 minutes and 30 seconds, you'll get to hear the host, Delors Cormier, who's been at this since 1991. This podcast goes way back. So he's going to give us the thought of the day in French and then a joke. So here's a little sample of the show.
Et puis, on va nous passer la petite pensée du jour, de la semaine. Gaspillez votre argent et vous êtes seulement sans argent. Eh oui, si vous gaspillez, vous êtes toujours sans argent. Mais gaspillez votre temps et vous avez perdu une partie de votre vie. Eh oui. Mais... Alors, si vous gaspillez votre vie, c'est la même chose, votre argent, vous gaspillez votre vie. Une partie de votre vie. C'est Michael Leboeuf qui disait ça. Et la blague du jour, je me suis fait remonter la peau du visage, de dire l'épouse à son mari. Ah oui? Mais je ne vois aucune différence, ma chérie, répond-il. C'est que tout est retombé quand j'ai vu la facture. Le visage, j'ai entendu. Donc, elle a fait opérer pour rien.
Je voudrais saluer Nika.
Well, there you go, small sample. So why would you listen to this? Well, because it's a variety show. It's got music. This is a lot more interesting than doing grammar drills. So you're more likely to stick with it and develop a habit of listening to the show. And if you do that, you are going to pick up some French.
Hey, well, I guess the ducks in the background didn't like that clip, so they're just swimming away. They weren't interested in that clip at all. So that wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.